All right. Good morning, everybody. Woo. It is good to see you and a joy and a blessing to be with you all. Welcome to Unity of Phoenix. We are in the second week of our preparation for Transformation Lenten service, so we're excited about that. But right now, we're just so thrilled. Thanks so much for being here. Welcome.
My name is Jimmy Scott, Pastoral Care Minister, and my pleasure to welcome you here as well. We've got fantastic service in store for you this morning, so welcome, welcome, welcome.
So we have two intentions this morning. The first one is you have a deep and profound experience of God. So everyone just take a deep breath. And just to invite you for a moment to just set aside and just let go of anything you might be worrying about or anything that's going on in your life that's troubling you, and just open your heart to allow this service to let Spirit touch you in a profound and meaningful way and to truly heal you and to open you to a fuller and richer experience of life. Our second intention is that you also feel a great sense of connection and a sense of community. You know, Jesus said, where two or more are gathered together in my name, there I am in the midst of them. And what he's really talking about is when we join together and come together in faith, come together in joy, come together for an intention, we really multiply and magnify the energy and the presence and power of Spirit. So please know, whether you're here for the first time or you've been here for years, that every single one of us, our presence together is what creates the experience of God that we are creating together. So please know, I'm glad you're here today, and your presence makes a difference. Turn to the person to your left or right and say, I'm glad you're here today. Your presence makes a difference. Jimmy, I'm glad you're here today.
You're here today too, Rich.
I'm glad to be here, man.
Okay, I said the person to your left and right, not work the whole room, okay? Just getting a little too carried away with the community thing, okay? I'm just kidding.
So let's begin this creative process by affirming our mission statement together.
Unity of Phoenix is a loving spiritual community that welcomes all people and honors all paths to God. We are dedicated to transforming lives by inspiring and awakening individuals to discover God's Spirit within them.
That it's now that part of our service where we step away from the external world, turn inwardly, quiet our minds, open our hearts, and just allow that indwelling presence of God, that indwelling Spirit of God that is within us, and that Spirit that is alive in each and every living thing on this planet. Just allow that Spirit to come forth. There's a wonderful scripture in the Old Testament that says there is a balm in Gilead, a place of calmness and peacefulness and quietness and serenity and surrender. A place where each one of us is able to contact our own indwelling God and to pray, to lift our thoughts and our consciousness, and in our own imagination create the kind of world that we wish to live in and to participate in. And the importance of that practice is that subconsciously we send forth those vibrations out into the universe to bring about healing, to bring about transformation, to remind us of the abundance in our universe, to remind us that no matter who we are or where we live, we each have the capacity to do more and to be more. to receive more and to give more, to love more and to be loved more. And so it is then that kind of consciousness that we want to enter into this time of quietness and reflection, this time of meditation. So I want to encourage you to take a deep, refreshing breath, and to get comfortable in your seat, and to mentally release and let go of all the challenges in your life and all the difficulties. Just allow yourself to be quiet and to be open to new ideas, new beliefs, new attitudes, and new ways of being. Because in each creative moment, we are, in essence, creating the rest of our lives. So one more deep breath. And just be still. The Apostle Paul reminds us, in all things give thanks. And so it is with prayer. We give thanks in the name and through the nature of the living Christ. And so it is. And amen.
Thank you, Sally Joe. Good morning again, everyone. And a shout out to everybody who tunes in and watches us online. So there's this lawyer riding in his limousine, and he sees this guy eating grass at the side of the road, and he tells the driver to stop. And the lawyer gets out, and he goes to the guy, and he says, "Hey, why are you eating grass?" And the guy says, "Well, I'm so poor, I can't afford food, so all I can eat is grass." And the lawyer said, "You shouldn't be eating like this. Come to my house, and I'll feed you." And the guy says, "Yeah, but I got a wife and I got 3 kids. Can they come too?" And he said, "Sure, bring them along. There's enough for everyone." And so they all get in the car and they're headed to the guy's house in the limousine. And the guy's heart is just filled with gratitude. He said, "Sir, I'm so grateful. You're willing to feed us, my whole family. You're taking us to your house. You know, we can never repay you for this generosity and kindness." And the guy says, "Don't worry about it. There's plenty. You love my house. The grass is almost 2 feet high." Well. So you think that one's bad? How about this one? Guy goes to a doctor with a stalk of celery in each ear and a carrot stick in each nostril. And he says to the doctor, he said, "Doc, I'm not feeling well." And the doctor says, "Maybe you're not eating right." I told you the first one was better. Hey, it's tough to find fasting jokes. So today we're talking about fasting. How many people here have ever fasted? A fair amount of people. And how many people here have ever given meat up or something up for Lent? How many people have done that? Yes, a lot of us have. And as a kid growing up in our household, we gave up meat for Lent. And it wasn't ever easy because we loved meat. A meal wasn't a meal without meat. And so it was kind of hard and kind of onerous for us. And we would always kind of whine and complain, "Why do I have to give up meat? You know, I'm hungry, Mom. I really need a hamburger. These vegetables aren't enough." And we'd whine about it, and sometimes we'd resist it so much. We'd say, "Mom, can't we give up broccoli or salad instead?" Or we'd say to our friends, "You know, what are you giving up for Lent?" "We have to give up meat in my house." And so we really, really got on. One year I actually said, "Hey, Mom, next year I'm giving up Lent for Lent." And so how many people have ever found it hard to give up meat or whatever it is for Lent, and you found it not fun and difficult and kind of burdensome? Anybody? You know, the fact is many of us have that kind of behavior and that kind of attitude. Giving up is a very onerous and difficult thing, something we don't like. And that attitude is really not surprising when you look at the world that celebrates Lent. The day before Lent is called Mardi Gras or Shrove Tuesday, and it's always kind of a last fling of eating all the good things you love before you got to do this solemn and difficult thing. Interestingly, the word carnival, which is one of the words used for the celebration before Lent, it actually means farewell to meat. Bye, meat. I'll see you in 40 days. I'll miss you and think about you every day, meat. Farewell to meat, farewell to sweets, farewell to things we like. And you can tell, but that attitude, you can tell clearly that we don't really understand the depth and the power of fasting and what it really means. Fasting isn't just about depriving yourself of food or starving or suffering. It isn't a punishment, it's not a burden, it is actually a spiritual practice. A very powerful and spiritual practice, a spiritual discipline that actually helps cleanse the body. It helps focus the mind. It calms our emotions. It opens our hearts. And it helps make us more receptive and more connected to the living Spirit of God, to the wisdom and guidance of God. If you look at all the people in the Bible, you know, that fasted, King David fasted. Moses fasted. Jesus fasted. The Apostle Paul fasted, and every one of them that fasted, at the end of their fast, there was some great breakthrough, some greater revelation, some next step in their spiritual growth, some next step about their leadership and what they were here to accomplish. That every one of them that did fasting and prayer, every one of them, there was a breakthrough. And prayer and fasting prepares us and puts us in the greatest position to have a spiritual breakthrough, to have something greater that we are seeking or maybe not even expecting to come forth. It helps us become a more clear and open channel for something greater to happen and for us to go into a deeper experience of God and a deeper experience of life. It prepares us for breakthroughs. How many people here could use a breakthrough in your life in some area? Financial, emotional, spiritual, we all can. And the thing is, prayer and fasting puts us in the best position to allow that breakthrough to come forth in our lives and for us to go deeper into God and to life. We're in the second week of our 7-week Lenten series called Preparation for Transformation. Great football coach says everybody has the will to win, but not everybody has the will to prepare. Everybody wants to, become the caterpillar. Everybody wants to be the butterfly, but nobody wants to be the caterpillar that's got to do all that work to get there. Sometimes we want the result without having to do much of the work. And this Lenten is a season of spiritual preparation. Marking the 40 days of fasting and prayer that Jesus did in the wilderness to prepare himself for his ministry, and the ultimate, miraculous event of Easter. And so the question is, are you prepared? And are you spiritually ready for the greater things in life? And are you willing to do that inner work to allow a greater breakthrough to happen in your life? So last week we talked about the breath meaning spirit, that the breath connects us to spirit, connects us to our soul, that it opens our heart and calms us and opens us for the work that we're to do. It helps us do the spiritual preparation. And today we're going to talk about fasting. And so let's look at what Jesus said in Matthew 6, verse 16 to 18. Let me read it to you, and then we'll kind of analyze it together. Here's what he said. Whenever you fast, do not look dismal like the hypocrites, for they disfigure their faces, as to show others that they are fasting. Truly I tell you, they have received their reward. But when you fast, put oil on your head and wash your face, so that your fasting may not be seen by others, but by your Father, who is in secret. And your Father who sees will reward you. So let's look at that. The very first lines, whenever you fast, don't look dismal and disfigure your faces so others will see, tells us a couple of things to prepare us for fasting. And the first one, notice it says, whenever you fast. Notice it doesn't say if you decide to fast. It says when. In making it very clear that fasting is a vital and important part of our spiritual life. Notice when the disciples asked Jesus how to pray, he said, when you pray, this is how you should pray. He's doing the same thing here with fasting. That fasting is as equal to prayer or forgiveness or tithing or any of our spiritual practices. So he's saying it's a vital and a spiritual practice. And the second one, he's letting you know it's not easy. It's not easy. That's why people disfigure their face, because it's not easy. And there's some things in our lives that are just not easy. One of my least favorite scriptures was in Matthew 7 when it says, enter through the narrow gate. For the gate is wide and the road is easy that leads to destruction, and there are many who take it. For the gate is narrow and the road is hard that leads to life, and there are few who find it. Now for me, I'm looking for the wide and easy road that takes me to life, not the narrow and hard one. How many people want the wide and easy one, like me? Anybody? But the fact is, what he's saying here clearly is that this is a vital and important practice, and it's not easy. But the results are incredible. The results are incredible. One of my favorite lines of the Apostle Paul, he says this. He says, my own behavior baffles me. I find myself doing things I know I shouldn't do and not doing things I know I should. Anybody ever do that? Anybody been on a diet, you had a piece of chocolate cake and you ate it and you know it wasn't good for you, but you did it anyway? Anybody ever do that? And the thing about what we don't like but hard things is the discipline, because it requires discipline. The narrow and hard way requires discipline, but it leads us to greater things. it leads us to greater success. I remember Zig Ziglar, one of my favorite motivational speakers. Everybody heard of Zig? Everybody, we love Zig. I love that guy. But he put this, the narrow gate thing into perspective when he said, if you discipline yourself today and do the things you know that are important for you to do, tomorrow you'll have more energy, you'll have more time, you'll have more freedom, you'll have more money, you'll have more success, you'll have more joy, you'll have better relationships. That if you do the things you need to do that you know you should do and do it now, it is the narrow gate that will lead you to life of fullness and peace and joy. And so this is a very, very important thing that this scripture is saying, is that fasting is a powerful and important spiritual practice, and it is not an easy thing. You know, Reverend Rogers and I, in our show that's going to air tomorrow, did a thing called the 8 Ways to Become a Happier You. It's an article by Beth Jans, and they did all the studies of positive psychology of the things that make us happy, and they came up with the 8 traits that make us happy. And you know what the number one thing that brings more happiness in our life, the number one things? Okay, let me tell you. The number one thing that brings happiness, here it comes. It's incredible. Ready? Self-control. And are you as disappointed as I was to hear that? I wanted to hear laughter, smiling, goofing around, being silly. I didn't want to hear self-control. But here's what it says. Self-control, they said, is the thing that pushes you to do the thing, go to the gym, instead of doing the easier option, staying in bed, because then you get the results you want, a healthier body. You know, college students were actually surveyed, and the ones who ranked the highest in self-control had the best grades. They were the least depressed, had the least amount of anxiety. They had the best personal relationships, the highest level of self-esteem, and the lowest amount of struggles with food. How many people have something in your life that you know you shouldn't be, you know that you should be doing that you aren't currently doing? That'll be good for you to do that you aren't currently doing. Everybody have one of those. And the question is, are you willing to demonstrate some self-control and do the thing, just one thing in your life that you know is good and important and healthy for you to do, and are you willing to do it? And while we have a tough time, here's the truth about ourselves. It says in 2 Timothy, God has not given you a spirit of fear or timidity. God has given you a spirit of power and of love and self-control. That you have the capacity in you to choose to do the things you know that are most important and the highest priorities that will bring you the best results. You have that power. Also in the book of Galatians, chapter 5, it says the fruits of the Spirit. There are all kinds of fruits. Love is a fruit of the Spirit. Joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. We run out of the list. Once we see love and peace, we're done. But it's at the list. It is one of those. And the question is, how much self-control are you utilizing in your life? And are you doing the things you know that will bring you the best results, that are highest and best for your peace, your happiness, your health, and your success? So the first thing about fasting and about a successful life is demonstrating a level of self-control. And the second one is about doing it with a good spirit. Anybody ever do the right thing, but you did it with a reluctant attitude, or you kind of regretted it slightly? You know, it's so funny. My mom always used to say when we were reluctant about fasting, she'd always give us this one. She said, you know, if you don't want to fast, you don't have to fast. Because if you can't do it with a good heart, don't do it at all. And it always felt like some Jedi mind trick, because she would say that. She'd give us the out, but then she'd nail us with the truth if you can't do it with a good heart. And I'll tell you, it is amazing how our attitudes and adjustment changed. It is amazing how our attitude and adjustment change. Because one of the things is about fasting and twisting up your face and showing how you're suffering and how hard it is. What it does is it takes a lot of extra energy, and you miss investing yourself in it, and you actually deprive yourself of the full benefit of that good thing. We can do many things mechanically, but the fact is when you invest your heart into it and your attitude and your spirit into that thing, it is amazing the difference that it makes. Arnold Schwarzenegger said that you could lift weights and just do the activity and listen to your Walkman or listen to whatever it is. But he said if you do it and put your attitude into it and your focus and your intention while you do it, he says the very same action invested with your intention and your good energy, actually, he says, makes that same action 10 times more effective. Isn't that interesting? That you could do you could do your job and mechanically and get it done, but you doing your job with your heart invested into it, increases the benefit incredible. You could do something kind for someone reluctantly, or you could do it with a loving heart, and the energy for you and for them will be increased. Anything you do is not to be done reluctantly with the self-control, but it's to invest your heart in it, and something amazing happens. So I've been fasting for the last 3 days. Not disfigured. And I just have to be honest, I was thinking about it, but the reality is I did it because I knew I was doing a talk on it, and I figured it'd be good to do. So I started Thursday, didn't eat, and stomach grumbling a little bit. Went to a movie Friday with a friend who got a really big bag of popcorn, and right next to me. And the thing about it, would have been easy to give up, and say, a little mouth, a little popcorn, not going to hurt you. But what was really good was to own it and to say, I'm going to develop a level of self-control and self-mastery. And just the thought of doing that and being able to say I did what I said I wanted to do and what was good for me made me feel so good that, from then it was just my whole attitude wasn't, I have to do this, I get to do this. This is going to be a fun and good thing that I get to do. And what was interesting about it, they said in the study, is when you do one thing with self-control and discipline, that other things in your life become easier. That when you master one thing, and that's why I just want you to focus on one thing that you want to take self-control on and to do it with a good attitude, that I guarantee you, it'll start spilling over into other areas of your life. Fasting is a powerful and important thing, but it's really teaching the principle of self-control and having a good attitude on doing the important things you know that'll help your life. So this week, pick one thing of self-control you know that is good for you to do, and do it and invest your attitude into that thing. The next thing it says, truly I tell you, for they have received their reward. And it reminds me of this little story of this father who buys his daughter a little piggy bank to teach her about saving, and she goes around finding all the change in the house and looking in the couch for the loose change and anywhere she can find it. And so a couple of days later, the father gives her 2 of these big, shiny silver dollar coins, and she comes back from her room crying and says, Daddy, they won't fit. And Dad goes and sees that her piggy bank is crammed with coins and paper clips and tokens, and washers and toothpicks, and there's no room. There's no room for any more. And there's an analogy there. It's sometimes like that little girl. We cram our lives with so much stuff that isn't worthy, that isn't as valuable, that when the valuable comes, there's no room for it. We've already received our reward. There's no deeper rewards than just what we have done. There's so many things in our lives that we are cramming into, thinking we're doing good and adding more good to, where all we're doing is blocking the way. Anybody got a closet or garage or some part of your house, a drawer that's stuffed full with more stuff than you know what to do, or a desk with so many piles of paper on it? We cram our calendars. We cram our lives. We cram ourselves with all kinds of activities. We cram our minds with so many thoughts and worries. And like that piggy bank, there's no more room for any more good. Do you know sometimes we stuff our bodies with so much food, the body can't quite digest it as effectively. 2 weeks ago, I'm sitting, and I don't know why. You ever comfort eat? Anybody ever comfort eat? So I was just having some stressful time, so I'm there. And my favorite snack when I was a kid was Ruffles chips with French onion dip. But I was trying to be self-conscious, so I'm sitting there, and I've got some Ruffles and French onion dip, but I also have some hummus and vegetables, and and I have some sausage, and then I've got a glass of red wine, but I also have a bottle of water and a can of Zevia, which is a healthy soda. And I'm eating all this stuff, and I got to tell you, for 3 or 4 nights, I just ate, and I just wasn't feeling good. You ever overdo it? Just not that good. Well, one thing I discovered in studying about fasting is when you overeat, it requires 65% of your body's energy being sent to your digestive system to digest that food. And then when you keep bombarding your body with food, do you know what? It actually reduces its effectiveness. It strains the system. And there are many of the jobs that the body can't do because it's so bombarded with this stuff. We get lethargic, we gain weight, but we open ourselves up to all kinds of diseases. Interestingly, fasting from food actually helps cleanse the body. It actually gives the body new energy, because it takes a lot of energy to do that stuff, to actually repair and detoxify and actually gain more energy and become more healthy. And so the cool thing is when you fast, you take a lot of that energy that's blocking and allow it to be liberated and to be freed. And so, but to me, fasting, it's not just about fasting from food. My mom would always say, when we didn't want to fast, she said, ultimately, Richard, it's not about what goes in your mouth, it's about what comes out of it. And she would say, it isn't just about giving up meat, it's also about fasting from the unkind words that you sometimes say to your sisters, or the hurtful things that you do. And to me, there are things that we're holding on to, things that we're cramming into our lives that aren't healthy and good for us, and it's important for us to fast from all of those things. So I ask you, what things have you crammed into your life that it's time for you to let go? Time for you to, behaviors that are for you to stop doing? Is there a relationship you're holding on that's time to let go? Is there a job you're holding on? Is there some resentment you're holding on? What is it in your life that is consuming so much energy that it's time for you to let go and to take a break from it? In doing some prayer, a few things came. And sometimes it just isn't letting go of negative. It's letting go of good things that it isn't time to do. Like Reverend Ott Rogers and I decided, as much as we were enjoying our radio show, that there were things in our lives that it was just time for us to take a break from it. I've decided it's time for me to take a break from my stand-up comedy. I know you think I should have taken a break a long time ago, but, and I'll tell you, it's so funny that in this thing, and it isn't just activities, it's feelings and emotions. I had 2 difficult meetings in relationships, and I had to have a difficult conversation. I was worrying and having a lot of fear, and through letting go of those situations, it's amazing. One conversation went so much easier than I thought it would, and the other one didn't even need a conversation, because things had gotten right inside of me. So I ask you, what in your life is it time for you to let go? What have you been holding on to that's blocking your sense of peace or taking up way too much energy that it's time for you to stop or clear out or release? Pick one thing, at least one thing, that it's time for you to release, because you block your ability to get rewards and good by still holding on. And the last thing is, I love when he says, but when you fast, put oil on your head and wash your face, so that your fasting may not be seen by others, but by your Father who is in secret, and your Father who sees will reward you. Put oil on your head. Oil is the flow of Spirit. Remember the widow's oil? When she had a little bit of oil, she gathered all the vessels, and it kept pouring the oil, and the oil kept pouring. That represents the flow of Spirit. And on your head, it's that place where the thoughts and the ideas come from. And so what it's saying is that in fasting, by freeing up that energy of that stuff, by letting it go, it allows Spirit to flow in, allow Spirit to flow through your thoughts. And to wash your face, remember your disfigured face, washing your face actually begins to have a more happy countenance. And one of the things is, the more we allow Spirit to flow through our thoughts and our happy countenance, by the energy freed up, what we can do is actually go deeper into God. Over the last 3 days, it's been so interesting. As I've been fasting, I have actually gotten deeper in all of my meditations. I feel more connected to Spirit. I've had a lot more clarity, a lot more understanding, some revelation, a sense of peace has come over me. I mean, every one of us meditate, but taking a break to fast actually allows us to go a little bit deeper, because it focuses your mind, it cleanses your body, and in that process of release and freeing energy, you really can go deeper into God. It's funny, I've read so many studies of people who fast, and it says, there are people who fast who have less anxiety, they sleep better, they wake up more refreshed, they have greater energy. Some people have been healed from allergies and long-time illnesses that they've suffered from. I mean, so many things happen when we fast. I know it's not the sexiest thing, I know it's not the easiest thing, but as Jesus says, it's a powerful and important thing. The question is, do you want to have a breakthrough in your life? And if you do, are you willing to do that deep and inner work? And what it's saying about fasting, it's important. It requires some self-control and a good attitude. And then you got to let go of that thing and allow that free energy to help take you deeper into God. And just like how David and Moses and Jesus and Paul had a greater breakthrough, I guarantee your life will break through to something greater, to a higher level in whatever your soul step is. The question is, are you willing to do the work? And are you willing to take time to pray and to use the powerful spiritual practice of fasting? God bless you all.
For our offertory, and the offertory affirmation is: divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Will you join me in affirming that together? Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. Amen.
Okay, so now, kids, can you help us lead our prayer of protection? Anybody want to help out with that? Okay. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is.
And all is well.
Amen. Let's hear for our kids, everybody. Thank you, guys. Great job. Great job. And everybody, as our kids exit, and let's give them room to do it safely, let's all rise now as we end with our song of peace. Bye, guys. Okay. Oh, sorry. God bless you. Have a good day and a wonderful week.